Would you like to add a beautiful crust to all of your favorite bread recipes?
Well, today on WTF, we're going to show you how to use polydextrose to make a beautiful ciabatta bread and a panzanella salad. Hello and welcome to WTF, where we transform food here in the Modernist Pantry Test Kitchen. I'm Chef Scott Guerin.
And I'm Janie Wang, one of the owners of Modernist Pantry. And here on WTF, every week we cover unique ingredients, techniques, do some demos, share recipes to get you started on your culinary adventures. So remember, subscribe and ring the bell. You get notified of our content. It comes out every single Tuesday. And today we're going to be talking about maybe one of our lesser known ingredients called polydextrose, which is a sugar alternative. So today we're going to tell you what exactly is polydextrose and why it's going to make a difference in your baking. So Scott, we obviously have covered tons of different sugar alternatives on here, but we haven't yet covered this one. Maybe we can start off with what is polydextrose and what role does it play?
Sure, so polydextrose is, like we said, a sugar alternative, and it actually is about 10% as sweet as table sugar. Okay. So it is not sweet at all. It's just barely sweet. Mm-hmm. And when you add it to things like bread, you're going to get all that kind of Maillard reaction, that browning, that crispy texture on the outside, but you're not going to be adding any sweetness to it. So if you're doing something that has, like a starter or anything, it's not going to kind of counteract that acidity.
Okay. Yeah, so then, I know that we're going to be sharing our recipes today, links in the description below. But if someone wanted to add it into their existing recipes, are they subbing out for sugar? How much of it do they use?
So no, you wouldn't be subbing out the sugar. You can use this on top of sugar just to add that texture to the crust of the bread. Okay. But I would not substitute all the sugar for this. This goes between 1 to 1.5%, but it can go even higher than that.
Okay, and is that of the flour or total ingredients?
Of the flour. Okay. So yeah, whenever you're doing baking, always measure it to the amount of the flour, because that's really the most important thing. So baker's percentages on that.
Yeah, and what exactly do we make today to, and kind of, what was the benefit that we got from adding it?
So what we made today was kind of like a take on a ciabatta, so it's a little bit tighter of a crumb structure than ciabatta because we're making a panzanella salad with it. So we just want a really crusty bread that can last for a few days, but have that really crispy texture on the outside to hold up to something like the dressing in a panzanella salad.
Cool. Well, we look forward to doing that.
Sure. So it's actually very simple. We're going to show you how to kind of apply it in a dough here. And this is a really quick recipe. So one thing that you want to look out for is if your recipe contains anything that's going to soften the crumb. So anything that's going to make the exterior of the outside softer. So something like oil in the recipe. So this recipe, when we started working with it, actually had oil. We pulled that oil out of the recipe. Also, diastatic malt powder. While they do similar things with making the crust nice and brown and even across, diastatic malt powder eats the starches, converts them to sugar, and also softens the crumb. Okay. So if you're adding polydextrose, which you want a crispier crumb, crispier exterior, the diastatic malt powder can make a softer exterior. So they will just kind of counteract each other.
Okay, good to know.
So very simply here, and we do this entire recipe on the blog or on the Instagram itself, but just showing you how to add it to a recipe, because sometimes these ingredients, you see them and you go, well, I'm not sure how to add them. Do I have to do anything special with them? It's so incredibly simple. When we have our Instaferm, it can go directly into the flour in any bread recipe that we have, right? And then we have our polydextrose that literally just goes right into the flour. So it's so incredibly easy. And then just some salt. I always put that away from the yeast because salt and yeast are not BFFs. So I'm just going to mix that up just to get this mixed in. And then I'm going to add in my water. And with this recipe, we also do suggest that you make a pouliche, which is basically just some of this water and some of this flour. It'll be separated in the recipe itself, but we're not doing that here. We're just showing basically how to mix together this recipe. And this recipe is extremely high hydration, which means it's going to be a very wet dough. Okay. So when you're going to mix it, it's going to be very, very wet. And what that's going to do, it's going to be a little bit difficult to work with that first. And then it will eventually, as the gluten starts to pull in any of that extra moisture, it will become very easy to work with.
Okay, great.
So this is easy. We're just going to get this mixing up very quickly. But after we make this dough, if you have bread that's just hanging out for a few days, this dough is specifically good for having that crispy crust, which works really well in something like a panzanella.
Okay, so even if you stays like this will kind of stay nice and crispy.
Yeah, and if you do the pouliche the day before, this will be a little bit softer because that flour and everything is kind of broken down and fully hydrated. So it's very simple. That this dough takes almost no effort. You just mix it in together, allow it about 4 hours of just constant, every half hour folding it, every half hour folding it, and then you're able to get that really nice airy dough that you have here. So
great.
Very simple. We have some day-old bread here, so I'm just going to pop this in. And then I have some tomatoes.
Ooh.
So whatever tomatoes you could find locally, the best possible tomatoes. Obviously, if you're making something that is mainly a tomato salad, you don't want those pink tomatoes that you find in the winter. This is a great summer dish. So I have a little bit of a broken balsamic vinaigrette, and the reason why I want it broken is you'll see on the plating later is I'm actually going to lay this on the plate, and you want to see those little kind of speckles of the balsamic around. So I'm going to put a good amount of dressing on this because I want it to absorb into that day-old bread, right? Great, so a little bit of this left over. Okay, we just mix this up gently. This is such a simple, lost a little piece there. Such a simple recipe. I'm losing all my pieces.
It's summer, it's humid here. I blame the humidity.
Yeah, has nothing to do with it, but yeah. Yeah, so great. So very simple, mix it up. What I have here is our mozzarella. You can find our recipe on our blog. So you just lay down the mozzarella and then you put a little ring mold around it. You can obviously plate it anyway if you want to chop the mozzarella and mix it in with this. We're just doing a fun little plating. Make some negative space on the inside. I'm just going to plate this around.
Yeah, I love that this is called a salad and it's all bread.
It's yeah, it's bread and tomato. Salad. It's a tomato sandwich. Right. So very simple. I'll garnish this with a little bit of basil after I get it all on here.
That's really pretty.
Right. It's a nice little thing that you can do if you have a larger platter, or you can obviously do a larger presentation than this, but this is just a fun way to do it with the mozzarella right in the center, kind of a clean plate under. Right.
Definitely a great way to get the most out of your day-old bread, that's for sure.
Yes, so with that, a little bit of fresh basil. Then mix this up just so it's slightly emulsified, but just barely. And I just lay it right on the plate there. You get that really kind of cool. Ooh. And depending on your mozzarella, you may have to salt it here or season it, but our mozzarella contains plenty of salt, so we don't have to. Just gently lift this up, make sure nothing falls in. You get a really pretty presentation.
Hey. Yeah, that looks so wonderful.
So yeah, it's super simple. It's a really great way to make bread, and then also take that bread and make something else out of it, especially with you during these humid days where it's going to get soggy quick. This is going to hold up to that, that humidity.
Yeah, and it's super easy to use. It's not like a complicated ingredient where you have to do a lot with it. Just add it to your bread at, what did you say? How much was it?
About 1 to 2%. We like 1.5% though.
Yeah, you can get all today's recipes in the links in the description below, as well as in a couple of days we'll be posting the video of the making of this salad, which will be super fun as well. All
the baking steps and everything are in there too.
Yeah, so if you have any questions, comments, there's like so much bread here. Questions and comments, just leave them below. We love hearing from you. And from here in the Modernist Pantry Test Kitchen, I'm Janie Wang.
And I'm Scott Guerin. Thank you so much for watching. And if you haven't already, like, comment, and subscribe. And hit that bell so you get notified when we drop a new video.
To get today's recipes and all of our recipes, remember to go to blog.modernistpantry.com where you'll get recipes, ask a chefs, tips and tricks, and more.
And if you haven't already, tell a friend so they know what's going on here at WTF.
And as always, to get any of the ingredients you saw today, you can go to modernistpantry.com to shop.
And until next time, we'll be here in the test kitchen helping you create memorable and magical experiences.